Big Walk is going to kill Friendslop. And yes, that's a good thing. We're in an era of slop. Okay, you can't scroll on social media without being inundated with AI generated nonsense. You can't play games without scrolling to the bottom to see if they've used AI generated nonsense, content, or generated assets. You can't even watch Hank Green on YouTube without being blasted with chat GPT scripts about things we could all just Google. In response to all this robot garbage, we're all looking for ways to spend time with things we know are real, the people around us. And online gaming has always been a way to do that. The very beginning of the genre of video games has been about multiplayer co op experiences. The first ever video game was called Table Tennis for Two. It was played in a singular museum, and then moved on to Pong 20 years later. Gaming has always been about connection, but we've never seen it be as popular as it has been in the last few years. And I really blame Among Us for that. I think it came at a time we all needed an escape, a way for us to talk to our friends without acknowledging reality necessarily. And that game gave us exactly what we needed to do. Every few nights on Steam, we got all together, Zoom, 2 hours, easy peasy. And I think that every game that's come after has really been chasing that high. It was a global phenomenon. In November of 2020, it had 500 million active users. That is a 15th of the world's population. That's crazy. Videos about Among Us had been watched more than 4 billion times in 2020. This was before shorts were really booming. Mind you, this was long form content. To give you scale on that, Baby Shark, the most viewed video of all time on YouTube, has had 17 billion views since 2016. 10 years to gather that number. Among Us generated a quarter of that in a single year. Videos and clips of Among Us were going crazy viral. And now everyone's off to the races. How do we recreate that? How do we make the next Among Us viral hit? Of course, we would see other video games go viral in the next few years, right? Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3 were both huge successes online, but not because they were multiplayer. Not viral in the same way Among Us was viral. Among Us went viral because of its player interaction, and Baldur's Gate 3 went viral because you could fuck Halstead as a bear.
Are you certain? It will be untamed, vigorous, and, well, large.
I never really made it much further than that scene, so if I just kept kind of looping it. Like I was there for a while in that forest. There were probably other things about the game too, but that was the most important one for me, if I'm being really honest with you. It would take another 3 years or so for us to get like another viral success in the same vein as Among Us. And I think this is where we see the true forming of the Friendslop genre begin. I'm talking about Lethal Company, the game that started the extraction craze we're all really suffering through right now. And I do mean that. Do you know how many extraction games are on Steam right now? It's in the hundreds at this point. But the premise is simple. You and your friends work together to extract valuable items from a deadly base and bring it back to your ship. Otherwise, you all die a very goofy and yonic death as you'll get shot out of the ship. No, or you all die a goofy death to one of the dozen or so enemies. Importantly, while you have access to proximity voice chat. Proximity voice chat isn't necessarily new for gaming, right? But this changed the game in the online sphere for making content about games. Suddenly, you weren't just getting clips of you playing a game with a friend and you're all doing something funny together. You were getting clips of them playing while their friend falls in a hole really comically, and you can hear it boop, till they hit the bottom. Or you could hear it happen in real time as they're running at you in a hallway screaming in terror, right? It felt like watching a cartoon, but like a real cartoon, like one with real people in it, right? The most common comment you would see in this era was, damn, get bro into voice acting. Because these things are real, kind of. I mean, they're a video game, but they're also a cartoon. But the things you were going through are like real, in a sense. It's exhilarating and hilarious. And those clips would go on to sell between 10 million and 17 million copies of the game. I think Wikipedia says about 10 million copies. Other sources say about 17 million. But let's be honest, we don't need an exact number to see that this strategy works. This game made by one indie studio with one guy behind it is now the roughly 20th most purchased game of all time on Steam because of short form content. Because of clips, because it was new and exciting and exhilarating. A game we could play with our friends, we could get murdered together instead of figuring out which one of us was the murderer this time. That's big. And it was also big for the industry in ways I don't think any of us were expecting. Suddenly, we can market a game through short form content. People would see a video of people playing Lethal Company with their friends and say, oh my God, we need to play this. Send it off to 6 friends, and suddenly that's 7 sales. And that model could be expanded to other kinds of games. UGC could now be a primary force for selling video games, UGC being user generated content. The way that influencers convince you to buy shit you don't need, like skincare or clothes or plastic, the TikTok shop that will under no circumstances choke your dog out. Promise. With this, UGC marketing wasn't just unboxings or reviews or undisclosed partnerships by influencers covertly making a buck off of you. It was streamers pumping out content for games like it was no one's fucking business. I don't know what you're thinking. Okay. Will, that is a huge jump. To say that Lethal Company's viral success caused a permanent shift in how we sell games, well, it's literally one game. It's one game that got success from short form content. Except it's way more than that. I swear. It's a lot of games. Some notable examples of this are like Web Fishing with 1.4 million copies sold. One person made it. Repo, 22 million copies sold. Tiny Studio. Phasmophobia, 20 million copies sold, made by one person. Peak, 18 million copies sold. 2 indie studios. And the list keeps going. Games made by small studios or even individuals are suddenly competing with AAA games because they made something infectious the algorithm loves. And to be clear, I don't think any of these games I've mentioned are Friendslop, okay? I think all these games are really well made and they added something to the landscape when they were released. But that's the new path of success in the industry. I really don't think we've had many games succeed this year without taking advantage of short form content being their main form of marketing. And please, don't get me wrong here. Streamers, YouTubers, and the guy selling those DVDs in the corner of your street have all been taking deals with gaming companies to help sell games since the dawn of the internet. But this is different, where before we had content creators being given games and putting hashtag sponsored in the title to help sell the game. Now we have a game coming out. A content creator goes super viral for playing it on TikTok or Instagram while playing the game, and other creators who desperately want to break containment from their 10 viewership cycle on Twitch hop on board, get a piece of that algorithmic pie. Then the game goes super viral, it floods social media, which in turn floods the market, and then it drives up sales and becomes an alleged overnight success. It's a whole new kind of cycle. This is a cycle with financial backing. Right now, I, as a YouTuber or a streamer or just some schmuck with a social media account, can sign up with about half a dozen services that are willing to give me free game keys in exchange for making clips about them. Games using this strategy or employing this strategy by working with an agency have a decent shot at this working for them. A success from programs like this was Water Park Simulator. I got a key for free from it, and they gave me more when the game actually launched. But the game, when it first came out, did kind of give slop. But it's aged really well. And now it includes an entirely human-made disclosure at the bottom of the Steam page. But that's really rare on sites like this. It's not common for games to have that disclosure because a lot of games on these platforms are made with a lot of assistance from generative AI. They use AI generated assets or are just asset flip games and are people trying to make a buck off of a craze. A craze that I really need to hammer home here is rooted in human nature, is rooted in your desire to connect with people you care about and play games with them. Oftentimes, the things drawing people to these clips isn't the gameplay itself. Personally, I don't think that many of these multiplayer simulator games are selling based on the gameplay. They're selling based on the personalities playing the games and making them look appealing. But that's the point of these websites. Get the game into as many hands as possible. Surely, one of them will make it look appealing. And I know I've gone really off the rails here. This is a video about Big Walk, and I really promise that we're getting there. But I need you to know that Friendslop is calculated. It is an industry now. It is a subcategory of game designed to prey upon your desire to play something fun with your friends. They're hoping you'll play something hastily thrown together that runs with the same coding backbone as a Roblox tycoon game you used to play on your grandma's iPad 1 in 2013. And I'm not dogging on games that experience viral success. I think there's a lot of really good games that have come out in the last few years that managed to break the mold and have experienced genuine organic viral success. For example, Peak, right? A game that does require good communication, has a really cool visual style, and is a good time while also being primed to go viral. because it's fun. Games like Repo, Super Battle Golf, Overcooked, and RV There Yet could all be games that technically fall into the category of Friendslop that I'm critiquing here, but these are all games with clear objectives and clear gameplay loops that allow you to play with people that you like. They're more than time fillers or background tasks to do while you're in a VC with your friends. They're art made to be fun to experience together. The friend slop that I am critiquing here is games like Supermarket Simulator, Shift at Midnight, Crime Simulator, Fast Food Simulator, Schedule One, games that are often asset flipped or AI assisted in their creation, tailor made to become viral successes to make money. Most games that fall into the simulator category or really just have simulator in the title are huge proponents of this. But it's the state of gaming, it's the state of the ecosystem. These games have limited gameplay loops, are made very quickly, are wacky in nature, often contain offensive things in hopes of going more viral and getting more success off of their controversy. Think about when Schedule 1 was blasted on the internet for having a racist achievement name, or when players advanced far enough into the game to unlock the blackface strand of weed. Weird. A newer example of this is the game Dear Passengers, which you may have seen a trailer for on Twitter or YouTube because it went really viral, and it billed itself as Friendslop in their announcement posts. This game is one where you play as brightly colored blobs running allegedly the worst airline in the world, where you have to serve your customers, fly the plane, and deal with Looney Tunes-esque shenanigans. But here's the catch. In the trailer, one of the player characters' names is Epstein J, and is serving a character that looks like Donald Trump. And the studio that made the game's job portal is explicitly looking for people who are willing to use generative AI as the base for concept art. The game is slop. And to drive this home, they made a trailer where they threw other games that could kind of fall into the Friendslop category off the plane. They threw out the mascots from Peak, Mecha Chameleon, Burgle and Gnomes, RV There Yet, and Repo off the plane because they are so convinced they're going to be the next viral hit in this same category. Because that's what the game was designed to be. It wasn't designed with a specific point of view or to add something to the world that isn't already available on Roblox. They're chasing the high that those other games have been able to create by being games that you want to play with your friends organically, mind you. Oh, and the cherry on top, bitch, is that this studio is the same studio that makes those mobile game ads you see on Grindr. The rage bait ones where the person does poorly and you're supposed to think to yourself, wow, I should go play this now because this bitch is so bad at it. But no one does that because the game looks like shit, Mary. I'm sorry. I got really mad for a second. I'm so mad about these games. I'm so mad about this studio that is so convinced that we are just cattle wanting to play whatever slop is thrown in front of us because it's with our friends. I am so tired of the state of this industry. It's really weird. This game was made in a lab to be clipped and fucked with and to go viral to generate sales. But like, I guess that's kind of the norm now because Streamer Life Simulator 2 that came out last year falls into the same pitfalls. Or how about The House Always Wins with entirely generative AI art on Steam, but with no disclosure. Or half the shit on Roblox designed to steal money from kids and their parents. It's all slop. It's literally slop. It's AI generated slop. And they're selling it to you as Friendslop. They've convinced us all that Peak falls into this same category somehow when it's made by two of the hardest working indie studios out there right now. And it's a new genre with slop in the name. It's weird. Sorry, I got really mad. Then my friend DMs me and asks if I want to play a game with them. Big Walk. I do some really light digging on it. People are calling it the next Peak and the newest addition in the tradition now of Friendslop. And I think, sure, I'm a content creator. I need a slice of this algorithmic pie, you know? So let's get in on this. Sure. The pitch I was given for the game was really simple. You just go on a walk with friends. I wasn't really told about the puzzles or the gameplay loop or really anything, just walking. And I was pretty much sold from that point on because I knew I could milk that for content because my friends are all really funny. So like, a good joke or two while we're all big blobs. Sure, whatever. Great. So we open up the game, and the soundtrack is immediately reminiscent of something from a while ago that I can't really put my finger on, even when I'm like a day into recording this, but it sounds nostalgic somehow. Kind of like Wii music, but very much not. It's brand new. It's also entirely a cappella, or almost a cappella, with the few instruments in it being percussion, from what I can tell, but I'm really not a musician, so take my word lightly here, okay? We're gonna put a pin in this, please. We're gonna come back to it. Okay. The game itself is really quiet and you have to crank your volume to really hear everything properly. And I think that was also a day one bug where players were quiet, but playing on full volume provided me like the perfect experience. Because now, as I walk around the game, I am totally immersed in the sounds of nature and occasionally the voices of my friends when I can find them. The gameplay loop, if you can find it, is really simple. You solve puzzles in large groups, and once you finish them, you get like little red thingy. In my playthroughs with a larger group, we called them heads because they kind of look like the characters' heads. But in my playthrough with my editor, Harleen, where we 100%ed the game, we called them nipples. So I'll be calling them nipples, okay? Boop, that's a nipple, not, oh, okay. You solve puzzles around the map, returning the nipples to central bases with nipple receptacles in them. And through that, you unlock more ways to traverse the map and you unlock new skills. A really important detail here is that you will need 2 people to put the nipples in their holes. One person holds on the button to open up the pod and the other person puts the nipple in. You need 2 people to play Big Walk. With me, you need 2 people to play this game. But you can play with as many as 12 people if you're feeling really ambitious. Frankly, 6 was a lot for me. I cannot imagine having done more than that, but you can do whatever. At its core, this game requires friendship. Even trying to access items, though, will sometimes require a friend. In your adventures, you'll find big blue towers with backpacks and straps in them. And yes, straps, but lesbians, don't get too excited. It's like a hip strap, not like a... Anyways. Hip straps you can store smaller items on, and then your backpacks you store the bigger things on. To put things on your strap or your backpack, you need your friends to help you. Even to put them on, you need help. Everything in this game is done with help, or a friend, or assistance. Together, and only together, can you complete most of the puzzles in this game. I think there was one puzzle I did myself the entire time we played this game. The actual loop here is really simple. But the actual task of getting from puzzle to puzzle, and even the puzzles themselves, are not simple. This is, yes, a walk. A long walk, a big hike, even. You will get lost later on in the game. You will stumble across puzzles, stumble across buildings, excited to do the puzzles inside, and you'll have already done it. And that's going to happen again, and again, and again. And if you're directionally challenged like me and Harleen, it's going to happen a lot. You'll get separated from each other. And if you're in a pair, this is significantly harder to rectify than if you're in a larger group. There is one big rule in Big Walk. Do not use anything other than the game to communicate with the people you're playing with. This is the rule Harleen and I took pretty seriously and worked pretty hard to never break, because, like, that's the intention of the game. Why would we break that, right? I think there were maybe 4 times throughout our run that we communicated outside of the game because we were that lost. When you're in a big group, finding other people is easy, right? Navigating the map is easy. There are lots of tools around the map to aid you in your journey, whether that be flares to set off around the map at stationary locations like the nipple receptacles, or walkie-talkies, or radios, or lights you can throw in the air if you get desperate. There's flare guns, there's whiteboards to leave messages on around the map. But these things are super useful only if another person in your party also has them. When I was playing with a group of 6, we always had one person carry a walkie-talkie on them. That way, if somebody gets lost, you can go to one of the big bases around the map that have radios at them, then you radio into the walkie-talkie, and then we can all find each other. If you're in a pair and you only have access to the inventory slot in your hand and the one in your back, carrying a walkie-talkie is a much bigger burden. And even then, if you get separated and your friend has the radio on their back, they can't get it off their back themselves. They need you to come help them so they could actually talk using the walkie-talkie. So you would have, at best, a one-way line of communication taking up a quarter of your joint inventory. So we broke the rules a few times. I'm sorry, and I would apologize. Actually, I'm not going to apologize. I really need to pay. When you're loading in, you can select the number of people you're playing with. The game reassures you that it loads in a version of the game that is compatible with the number of people you have. We learned really quickly, though, this does not mean the game's difficulty will be scaled for the number of people you have. Puzzles remain completable for the most part, but will be way easier if you have more people with you. There are a lot of puzzles that are made way easier by having more people. For example, in the first area you unlock after the tutorial, there's a puzzle where there's 5 platforms with different poses on them. Then, a good chunk of space away, there's like a platform up on a hill with telescopes pointing at those platforms. You have one person on the hill looking through the telescopes and then putting the correct poses that correspond to the platforms into like the machine behind them. With a group of 6, this took about all of 5 minutes. Everyone just kind of gets in a position, you do your thing, hit your poses, and the person in charge of the telescopes popped them in really easily. But when it was just me and Harleen, there were still 5 platforms. So it took me going from platform to platform, posing, and then running to the next. And I couldn't tell which platform came next all the time, so I was just kind of like running towards red. Okay, if you're not really far into Big Walk yet, I really recommend skipping this next section as I have a specific complaint with 2 puzzles I'm going to talk about in detail here. So if you don't want the solution or any spoilers, you're going to skip to this timestamp right here. Here, I'll even give you a second. Okay, you're gone. Great. So the first puzzle I want to complain about here is a large hole in the ground. There's platforms in it, and there's a nipple at the very bottom of it you have to bring from the bottom of the hole up to the very top. You do this by having your friend, or friends ideally, enter through doors at various heights, jump down onto the platforms, and from there, you're going to throw the nipple up at them, right? And then you keep kind of just like, choo, 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 choo. Follow me? This sounds really simple, and I guess in theory it is really simple. But when there's only 2 of you, this puzzle takes an excruciating amount of time because you have to wait ever so patiently for your friend to get to the top of the hole or the next appropriate place to jump down and actually jump down. If there are more of us, this would have been a breeze, but it wasn't. Despite Harleen and I 100%ing this game together, 19 hours, mind you. This was the only puzzle we got frustrated with each other with because this felt like the only time where just the 2 of us wasn't really enough to do this. There's also another puzzle that becomes available after you complete the game's finale in the big black sphere. And if you haven't gotten there yet and haven't seen these puzzles with the purple nipples, please skip. Earlier in the game, you discover a golfing puzzle with a ball that's so heavy that you can't walk and hold it at the same time. The solution here is to pass it back and forth between you and your team, kind of like a human conveyor belt. Almost, right? The original puzzle is pretty short, but it's still a puzzle greatly aided by having more people to help you. The first time I did this, there was 3 people there, and it was so fast. With 2, it was a little bit slower, but it was super doable. But the second, more difficult version of this puzzle has you bringing the ball from the original puzzle halfway across the map to the very end of the chairlift route. I have a hunch it's really far away. You have to take chairlift to get there and go up a mountain to get there. It takes forever. And the only reason we did this in an hour and a half and not 2 or 3 hours is because I found a bug in the physics where if I crouched under Harleen and balanced her nipple that she had in her back on my head, we could walk at a relatively normal speed. So we cheated. We used a bug, and it's the only reason this took a decent amount of time. If there were more people, we could maybe perform like a conveyor belt. I guarantee this would have been way easier, but we didn't have that. There was just the 2 of us. Hi, spoilers over. Welcome back. Proud of you for skipping if you skipped. Proud of you finishing the game if you didn't skip, whatever. Anyways, with all of that said though, this really is my only complaint with this game. The game would have been way easier if we had more people. Yeah, but I think that's part of the lesson of the game. Yes, you can absolutely get through life with just one person, your best friend, your husband, your boyfriend, your wife, whoever, but a community will always make your life, and by extension, your playthrough of Big Walk, a much richer, more fulfilling experience. Even if I think Harleen is the only person in the world I'd be able to complete this game with like this, the extra bodies would have been nice to have. I don't know. And I really do mean that. Otherwise, the game serves as a perfect place to hang out. It is gorgeous. I just mean, look at it. I wasn't even mad when we got lost because we were somewhere pretty and we were together. Even if we weren't together, the island Big Walk takes place in felt material. Harleen and I live an ocean apart. They live in the UK and I live in the US, and we've never met in person. They are, without a doubt, though, my best friend. This felt like I was sitting next to her and walking next to her. And we've played a lot of games together that have proximity chat in them. We hosted a Peak tournament together, raising money for trans youth in the UK. We played a lot of Repo together to prep me for playing Twitch Rivals. This style of Friendslop game isn't new to us, but this kind of experience was. Remember how I said earlier that I had to really blast the game audio? I feel like that really played into helping us feel like we were next to each other. The proximity voice chat seemed more precise than other games, and added effects like echoes and reverbs made it seem like we were really there, with a fairly accurate sense of realism because of how loud everything had to be for me to hear the quietest noises and sentences out of Harleen's mouth. That's what made this game feel special, though. It wasn't just a game, it felt like a real place, not a task. It felt like a full world to explore. We were able to fill it with our inside jokes and our stories and us shit talking over an open mic while I was recording B roll for almost 20 hours. A place where my best friend and I were tasked with communicating plainly and openly and honestly, while also needing to trust each other. Really mild puzzle spoilers here. No, like, spoilers for solutions, but if you don't want any spoilers at all for the game, then you're going to skip to this right here. Got it? Cool. There were two puzzles in particular that we struggled through more than others. In these puzzles, one person would put in a mascot head that would kind of muffle the sounds they heard and like totally block their vision. The other person, me in this instance, would be tasked with guiding our new mascot head friend through an obstacle course of some sort, whether putting things in the right places or just walking in general. It was a trust exercise for both people involved. Harleen had to trust that I was guiding her the right way, and I had to trust the way that I was communicating would work for both of us. One of these puzzles was way harder than the other, though, but it was also the one that we did second. And we cleared it on our first try, and relatively quickly, too, because we'd already established that trust each other the first time around. This trust you build with each other is exactly what makes this game so magical. Unlike other games, the internet are going to insist our Friendslop, where you have to work together to overcome obstacles and find common objectives, maybe as brightly colored blobs. This game relies almost entirely on talking to each other. For games like Repo, a game that I played competitively, mind you, for a day with 4 creators that I love, there is an amount of skill involved there. We were playing in Twitch Rivals, and we came to win, and we did. But the reason we won is because we were all really good at the game. But mostly because my friend Lady was really good at beating the shit out of the monsters. Please roll the footage, it's so scary. Oh my god.
Eat my whole fucking promo pussy! I did it!
So sorry.
We won because we were good. And we were good because we had played before and we had practiced. This game isn't friend slop at all. It's a friend gem. That sucks. We didn't come up with anything else in the writer's room? The writer's room was me. Think about it. If Friendslop is a game that is very quickly stapled together to take advantage of the fact that you want to play games with your friends and to take advantage of the short form content meta currently booming across all social media, Big Walk is almost the exact opposite of that. This is not a game you can get fantastic clips in that the algorithm be hooked on. Trust me, I know. This is my job. Despite all of my friends, who, mind you, this is their job too, we are all playing this game this week. And I've seen maybe 3 clips of it do well on socials. And one of those clips was of my friend Jules and their friends going 6-7, 6-7.
6-7, 6-7.
Oh 6-7, 6-7.
Not even about the game. And that was the biggest video I saw. To really drive this point home, everybody, I saw a clip of a big streamer trying to play this game with his friends, and he rage quit because it's not the kind of game you typically associate with Friendslop that goes viral.
Am I having enough fun that I want to go do 5 more puzzles that are down at the bottom of the mountain and then have to carry them all the way up to then unlock a key to go to another area to do the same thing?
It's about the fucking journey, man.
Yeah, but like, I mean, where's the journey though?
We're doing
The game
it
is
right
10.
now.
The game is 10 hours.
Wait, how many?
Wait,
what the
oh my
hell?
God, wait. I think like
And I know I'm bean souping the fuck out of this, but what's so funny here is that they're actively debating if the game is fun enough to keep going with on stream. I mean, it's fun, but fun to do it 5 more times? And somebody correctly points out it's about the journey, but the journey isn't clippable enough to keep going on stream because you can't get loud and mad at this game. You can't farm clips for engagement because that would imply you could somehow rage bait people into interacting with content in the game or have some epic fail that drives viewers on short form content platforms to laugh at you. It's just not that kind of game. I will be the first to admit I don't watch this man's content. I don't often engage with straight people's content journeys, much less men's content journeys in general. And like, maybe that's on me, or maybe there's some other deeper reason I can make an entirely different essay about related to my queerness. But Who knows? Regardless, I find this fascinating and a sentiment that is summed up best with the top comment on that video. This is a game for friends, not coworkers, which is what all these streamers are. Coworkers putting on a show, no different than an improv troupe. Maybe they're friends, but on camera, to be successful in this industry, you cannot be this kind of friend. The kind of friend required to play this game while being on stream. You can't be slow and methodical and patient in an era of big personalities and purposely clipped rage bait. This is the game that does not take advantage of the fact you want to play games together and spend time together with your friends. This is the game that makes hanging out with your friends casual and gorgeous, and even aids in your ability to be better friends in the future by giving you communication-based tasks. This is not the kind of game that is going to take advantage of the fact you want to play games together and spend time together with your friends. This is the game that makes hanging out with your friends casual and gorgeous, and it even aids in your ability to be better friends in the future by giving you plain communication-based tasks. Spoilers for the game's finale, and please, please, please skip if you have not gotten there yet. The game's finale in the Big Black Sphere is one of the most touching moments in any video game I have ever played. And if you haven't gotten there yet, I don't want it to be spoiled for you. Skip to here. After you finish the game's 5 main towers and then its smaller black tower, you make your way down the stairs and through the brush, through the nature with no distractions. You are unable to talk to your friends. You're doing puzzles with your friends without being able to hear them at all, communicating mostly through your body language and the same poses we've talked about endlessly here. Now, yes, these puzzles are mostly reprises of things you've already done, but with the difficulty turned up just a hair. Harleen and I completed these puzzles very quickly, and with such strong faith in each other that I cried when it was over, because I'd been able to confirm what we'd known since the beginning. This game was tailor-made to turn you and your friends into better friends, and I think it worked. And this is doubly true for the game's true finale, after you finish every single puzzle and are given one last task. And I am begging you, if you have not gotten there yet, please skip to this. Thank you. At the time Harleen and I finished the game, there were no guides to it, and we were able to be part of the 0.01% of players who had gotten the achievement for finishing the game's true finale and doing all the content. The true finale of this game has the developers of the game talk to you directly. They invite you to share memories of the game with your friends, to reflect on your experience, and they thank you for playing the game and for getting through even the most difficult challenges to get there. All of this is set in this really quaint little theater that had been hiding right under the very place you started. Throughout the game, you are experiencing the developers talk to you silently, giving hints and environmental details that tell you how to complete all the puzzles. And in the first finale, you talk with your friends the way the developers have been talking to you the entire time, silently, using the environment around you to get the messages across. And then in the true finale of the game, they break some 5th wall. Beyond the 4th wall, even, they talk directly to you. And they say, we made this place, but you made this experience. And I cried getting to tell Harleen about how much closer to her I felt. And how sad I was this was all over. And how it was an experience I wouldn't have traded for the world. If you skipped here from the spoilers, welcome back. This game is so dedicated to you and your friends spending time together that there's a handful of puzzles where the main objective is to spend time together in the same digital room. The game has no timers otherwise. There's no stress. There's no hard-baked objectives that you have to take. You can sit together and watch the sunset, or treat the game like a virtual chat room and sit at one of the many beautifully designed places that are made just for you to sit back and listen to its gorgeous soundtrack. This game has taken everything that corporations wish Friendslop could be and turned it up to a 10. It is artistically crafted and slowly developed over 6 years to make you a better collaborator and communicator. Even the main theme for the game is a larger metaphor for the game itself. It's mostly a cappella and percussion. For a game about talking and walking, it uses the same sounds you make in the game, your voice in an instrument that sounds like footsteps, to drive home the point. It's art, and it's masterfully thought out. And best of all, it's a touching experience. It has me feeling emotions that I have never experienced playing another co-op game. And maybe that's because of who I was playing with. Or the fact that I've been off by a day or two on my estrogen for like a month or so. But either way, I have never felt emotions like this from a multiplayer game before. Even games like It Takes Two, Cult of the Lamb, or Baldur's Gate 3, games with rich emotional stories and very fun multiplayer modes, failed to make me feel emotions at the same depth as Big Walk, a game that almost entirely lacks dialogue and scripted moments. The kinds of emotions this game brought out of me were reminiscent of those I had felt when I played A Short Hike, my favorite game of all time, or when I finished Undertale for the first time as an adult after completing an accidental perfect pacifist run. And those games are games that I relate to deeply in my personal life. A Short Hike made me call my mom with how in-depth I felt by its finale. And Undertale was a game that my first ever trans friend introduced me to in high school. And I think I stopped halfway through Act 1 and I picked it up again a few years ago, and I couldn't stop thinking about Sarah, a girl who I had known for 10 years and who came out to me randomly one day on the sidewalk and I never saw again. I felt real, raw emotions playing Big Walk that made me reflect on things I've experienced in my real life. And these emotions have far more depth to them than any other game I've ever played, even with those other two examples already behind us. This game is decidedly different from everything else in this Friendslop genre because it's not slop, and neither are the other games that get unfairly lumped in there. This game refined my palette and helped me define my experiences with what I want when I play games with friends going forward. And yes, I'm going to inevitably want to turn my brain off and play something ridiculous, except honestly, that's kind of what League of Legends is for. So I don't know if I'll have a space for Supermarket Together or Shift at Midnight in my brain anymore. Let's make that the next video essay. League is the real Friendslop. Sorry, back on track. This game made me want better for co-op games, both in their label being unjustly called Friendslop to parody the way we critique AI-generated slop content, and also in their content. We deserve more from co-op games than just hastily stapled together nonsense that takes advantage of our desire to spend time together. We've had some amazing co-op titles over the last couple of years. All of them are already mentioned here and probably played on this channel already because their experience is worth sharing and worth having. We have, however, had far more bad co-op games come out. Genuine Friendslop. Games like Big Walk help push the genre of multiplayer games in the right direction. They help us connect with those around us and allow us to feel experiences that we may not be able to have together, whether because of distance or physical ability or time being the primary factor for our separation from each other. Big Walk and games like it have also done an invaluable service in connecting people in times when loneliness epidemics have become large talking points together in the news. Their evil counterpart, however, genuine Friendslop, have done the opposite, driving a toxic culture in advertising reliant on the short attention spans of internet users and feeding into the often loud and obnoxious cultures that often make the internet a hostile place to be on if you're anyone who's any different. I think Big Walk will be a turning point for the industry, and I hope it inspires co-op products that are quieter and more human and more intimate in both their storytelling and their goal. Big Walk is going to help kill Friendslop and help more players realize what we're really looking for: connection with the people we care about. Not just another mindless task complete with people we love. We want something real. And Big Walk delivered in a big way on giving us something real while being entirely virtual. So cheers the end of slop. I hope our next era is one of connection and of weird blob people putting nipples in holes. Cheers. I want to say thank you to our patrons for powering this video, and also for all of you for subscribing and liking and joining us on this journey. What are your thoughts? What are your favorite Friendslop games? Do you play Friendslop, or is it just kind of like good co-op games? If you have any interest in supporting the channel, please leave a like and subscribe, and please go to the Patreon. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.